Welcome to Built, Wired, and Secured, the podcast where we explore how modern buildings are designed, connected, and protected in the real world. I'm Alex Morgan, and in today's episode, we're diving into a human-centered playbook for privacy by design and why it matters, where projects usually go wrong, and what decision-makers need to understand before problems show up in production. Joining me today is Michael, and together we'll break this down from a practical, real-world perspective.
Cold open. There's this newly instrumented 8th floor motion sensors, desk occupancy sensors, a few CO2 trackers. The facilities team is thrilled. HVAC complaints drop, energy use nudges down. But 3 weeks in, the front desk starts getting notes. Are we being watched? Tenants feel unsettled. That unease bubbles into formal complaints. The team pauses, rewires nothing, but changes how they communicate and govern the sensors, and complaints fall by roughly 40%. Today we're unpacking that exact kind of moment, how you deploy sensors that improve operations without eroding tenant trust.
Welcome to Built, Wired, and Secured. I'm Alex Morgan. This show is about the real-world choices that shape building technology, what works, what fails, and why. With me is Michael Harrington, a senior property manager who lives in the space between operations and tenant experience. Michael, great to have you.
Thanks, Alex. Glad to be here. From an operational standpoint, when we roll sensors into occupied spaces, the tech side is usually straightforward. The tricky part is the human side. What breaks if this goes down, how tenants perceive it, and how we communicate what we're doing so people don't feel surveilled.
Before we dive in, quick framing. This episode stays operational, not legal advice. If you need compliance guidance, bring counsel in. Our goal is a practical playbook you can use right away. Michael, let's start with a quick primer. What sensors are property teams commonly deploying, and what do they actually collect that tends to trigger tenant concern?
Sure. The common ones are occupancy and motion sensors, desk usage sensors, CO2 and air quality sensors, door position or entry sensors, and people counters in lobbies. Most of these collect presence or environmental telemetry, not individual identities. Tenants often notice three things: perceived surveillance when sensors are visible, unexpected signals like heat maps or desk usage dashboards, and vendor telemetry that phones home. Even if you're collecting anonymous counts, the optics matter. Tenants ask, who can see this, and how long do you keep it?
That leads into what we promised, a live, interactive, 5-minute sensor audit you can run on site. I'll read checklist items slowly, pause between each one, and answer yes, no, or take notes. Ready?
Ready? I'll add operational color as you go. What I look for when I run this with a facilities or IT team.
Minute 1. Identify the sensor and its primary purpose. Ask, what operational outcome are we solving? HVAC balancing, desk utilization, safety? Write that down.
If the purpose is vague, we want data, that's a red flag. From an operational standpoint, you want a defined action. Reduce complaints, improve cleaning schedules, detect chronic drafts. Data without action is just noise and a trust risk.
Minute 2. Map the data flow. Where does raw data go first on device? To a local gateway or to a vendor cloud? Who has access to dashboards? If you can, list the systems and the team members who access the data.
Operational tip. Limit early access to a small named group facilities. Energy manager, maybe workplace ops. Broad access creates downstream surprises when an analyst builds a heat map that gets shared more widely.
Minute 3. Check retention and granularity. How long is the data kept and at what resolution? Can you reduce it, sample, aggregate, or delete after a short window and still meet the operational need?
Short retention is one of the easiest wins. Tenants don't need minute-by-minute records for most operational outcomes. Aggregate hourly counts or 15-minute bins often solve the problem and lower risk.
Minute 4. Ask about identifiers. Is the sensor tied to personal device MACs, badge IDs, or is it anonymous presence? If identifiers exist, is there a way to pseudonymize or hash before storage?
That's where vendor telemetry gets tricky. From an operational standpoint, I always ask vendors,
What unique identifiers are in the payload, and can you strip or hash them? If the vendor says no, that's a conversation about whether we should proceed.
Minute 5, communication and signage. Do you have an easy-to-read tenant notice, a point of contact, and a documented approval gate that stakeholders signed off on? If the answer is no, pause the rollout until you have those pieces.
Exactly. That approval gate should include facilities, property management, workplace experience, and an IT or security reviewer. It doesn't need to be a heavy committee, just a lightweight checklist and the names of approvers. That prevents surprises later.
Good. Now let's talk risk taxonomy at a high level. What's low risk versus high risk, operationally speaking? Low risk telemetry is aggregate counts, CO2, temperature, stuff you use to tune systems. High risk signals are anything that can be tied back to an individual, persistent badge reads, device tracking, or data that can be combined to re-identify someone.
From an operational view, treat anything that creates a person-level timeline as high risk. Tenants feel that immediately. If you need person-level insight for, say, forensic security, be explicit about scope, retention, and who signs off. But for most facility optimizations, keep things aggregate.
Next practical tactics you can apply right away: data minimization, sampling instead of continuous capture, on-device aggregation, short retention, and explicit access gates. Can you give an example where these tactics saved friction in the field?
Sure. We had a desk usage pilot where initial dashboards showed individual desk activity. Tenants were uneasy. We switched to 5-minute aggregated occupancy buckets and removed desk-level identifiers from the dashboards. We also published a short notice and a Q&A. The usage insights stayed useful for cleaning and HVAC, and tenant complaints dropped substantially.
That's a perfect lead into our read-aloud segment. I'll model a 60-second tenant notice you can copy. Read it verbatim if it fits your context, or adapt the phrasing. Here we go. We recently installed sensors in select areas to improve air quality and comfort, and to help our facilities team respond faster to HVAC issues. These sensors collect aggregated environmental and occupancy data only. No images or personally identifiable information are collected. Data is stored in aggregate and retained only for 30 days to support operations. If you have questions or would like more detail, contact Building Operations at operations@example.com.
That reads well. Operational tip: put that on the sign near the equipment and in an email to tenants before you go live. Also include a named contact so inquiries don't funnel to a generic inbox.
A couple of governance notes. Keep an approvals checklist that records the sensor purpose, data flow, retention, access list, communications plan, and a named incident contact. Define incident boundaries, operational outages versus forensic investigations, and state who escalates to a security team or legal counsel. Again, not legal advice, but an operational boundary helps teams act quickly and transparently.
2 anonymized examples to close the middle of the show. One success, an air quality rollout where teams published the notice, limited access to facilities and workplace ops, and used 24-hour aggregated data. Tenants embraced the improvements. One communication failure, a pilot, where sensors were visible but no notice was given. The vendor dashboard was too granular, and a team member shared a heat map internally that leaked. That second case created distrust, even though the data wasn't linked to individuals. Lesson: communication and access controls are as important as technical controls.
We're heading into the final stretch. Key takeaways and 3 immediate actions you can take on site today. 1, run the 5-minute audit we did and document answers. 2, publish a short tenant notice and a named contact before you go live. 3, limit access and set short retention aggregate first. Capture less detail and only elevate to finer data when you have a clear, documented operational need.
If you take those 3 steps, you'll avoid most avoidable friction. And measure the impact. Track tenant inquiries before and after, and watch complaint volume. Small operational changes make measurable differences.
We'll be adding additional privacy resources and practical tools on our website soon. Visit gdstech.tech for updates, guidance, and supporting materials related to this episode. If you'd like to share your audit insights or real-world challenges, you can reach out through the site. We may feature anonymized examples in a future follow-up episode. And as always, this episode provides operational guidance, not legal advice. Please consult your legal counsel for compliance-specific questions.
Thanks for having me, Alex. I hope listeners walk away with practical steps they can implement this week. Small things done consistently protect trust.
That wraps up today's episode of Built, Wired, and Secured. Today, we unpacked a human-centered playbook for privacy by design and hopefully gave you a clearer way to think about how privacy decisions impact people long after the initial install. Thanks, Michael, and thank you for spending time with us. For additional resources and to continue the conversation, visit gdstech.tech. Until next time, make sure the systems you're responsible for are built to last, wired with intention, and secured for the real world.